The night my grandparents died, I thought the grief would drown me. But grief has a way of sharpening things. It burns illusions down to the bone. At the reading of the will, the air was thick with perfume and expectation. My family sat upright, smug, rehearsing the riches they thought were theirs. But then the lawyer read the words that changed everything. To my grandchild, I leave the entirety of my estate, $26 million in assets, properties, and accounts. Silence. Then the room erupted. "You can't be serious," my uncle spat. "They're confused. It has to be divided," my mother insisted. "Hand it over," my brother demanded, like I was a clerk and not blood. I didn't flinch. I simply said, "No." That one word cost me the roof over my head. That night, they kicked me out like a stray dog. But I didn't break. I moved into my grandparents' house, the house where every secret, every plan, every memory lived. And I swore I'd protect what they entrusted to me. I should have expected it, really. All my life, I was the background character in their play. My brother was the golden child. My mother adored him. My uncle invested in him. I was tolerated, occasionally dismissed, often ignored. My grandparents were the only ones who saw me. They taught me patience, discipline, how to listen more than I spoke, how to use silence as a weapon. It was fitting that in the end, they left everything to the one person the rest of the family underestimated. But the night they threw me out, I saw their true faces. Not just greed, hatred, as if my existence was an obstacle to their inheritance. That's when I stopped mourning. That's when I started planning. I didn't shout, I didn't threaten, I didn't beg. Instead, I made calls, quiet ones, to people my family didn't know I knew. The first was my grandparents' attorney, who assured me every document was ironclad. No loopholes, no challenge could stand. The second was the local sheriff, an old friend of my grandfather. He promised me something simple: protection. Not because of the money, but because of loyalty. And the third call was to a private investigator, someone my grandparents once trusted when business got messy. I asked him to dig, not into me, but into them, my mother, my uncle, my brother. Within days, files began to arrive. Hidden debts, fraudulent loans, gambling slips. Evidence that the ones who screamed unfair were the same ones who had been stealing behind closed doors. They wanted to evict me. They wanted to take what wasn't theirs. I was ready to let them try. The next morning, I heard the engines before I saw them. 3 cars pulling into the driveway like they owned the place. My mother in front, her heels clicking like gunfire against the pavement. My uncle beside her, waving a folder of bogus legal documents. My brother smirking, phone in hand, already recording what he thought would be my humiliation. They stormed up to the porch. "This house doesn't belong to you," my mother snapped. "You have 2 options," my uncle added. "Hand it over quietly, or we'll take it by force." I let them talk. Let them spit their venom. Let them believe I was cornered. And then I stepped aside. Because I wasn't alone. Standing beside me was the sheriff, uniform sharp, hand resting casually on his belt. And behind him, the lawyer. The same lawyer who had read the will, holding copies of every document. But what froze them, what turned their arrogance into panic, was the man beside the lawyer, the private investigator, holding a file thick with their sins. The sheriff spoke first, calm, cold. "If you set 1 foot inside, you'll be arrested for trespassing." The lawyer followed. "And if you attempt to contest the will again, you'll be liable for damages. This estate is airtight." Then the investigator opened the folder and began to read. My uncle's gambling debts, my mother's embezzlement from a charity fund, My brothers forged applications for business loans. Each word stripped them bare. Each secret ripped the smugness off their faces. I didn't have to say a thing. I just watched. My brother tried to laugh it off. My mother demanded proof. My uncle turned red, then pale, then silent. They came to evict me. Instead, they were exposed. By the time they left, they weren't a family anymore. They were fractured, terrified, turning on each other. And me? I stood on the porch, watching them retreat, my grandparents' house behind me, their legacy intact. For the first time in years, I felt the weight lift. Not because I had money, but because I had power. They thought inheritance was about cash, cars, property. They were wrong. The true inheritance was control. My grandparents knew who could carry it, and I did. Weeks later, they tried to call. Messages, letters, pleas. I ignored them, because betrayal doesn't deserve forgiveness. It deserves consequence. I live now in the house my grandparents built, surrounded,